Welcome to the NAEPSDP webinar. I'm Julie Robinson with NAEPSDP, and we're excited that you've joined us. This is our fourth and final webinar of 2017, and we are excited to have Kyle Flynn with us today. And Kyle is with the University of Missouri, and he is the Extension Enterprise Project Director. And so Kyle is going to be sharing with us transforming extension, enhanced engagement through client management systems. Kyle, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Well, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. And I'll start by introducing myself. Again, my name's Kyle Flynn. I'm the project and program director for a program we call Nexus at Mizzou. The information that I'm going to share today is a combination of a little bit of history so that everybody's aware of the program and what we're looking to accomplish. I have a demo to share with everybody of the new systems. And then I'm also going to share some information about other initiatives that are attached to this program. So I have a fair amount of information to share. Much of it is hot off the presses. We just had our annual summit, and on Wednesday I presented this to 600 of our faculty and stakeholders statewide. So the good news is everything that I'm sharing with you is almost real time, so I'm very excited to do that. So again, thank you everybody for your time today. What I wanted to do is first share a little bit about MU Extension, just so you understand the depth and breadth of MU's Extension division. I share a little bit about high-level program goals, the transformative properties of programs like this. A couple of slides about the systems involved. There are 4 systems primarily that we're deploying. I'm going to provide a demo in our staging environment, and then talk about some on-demand services and the timelines and future phases we're going to work on. So with that, so our extension has directors or associate deans embedded in each of these colleges, along with, of course, Missouri 4-H. And then we have a number of continuing education units like the Fire and Rescue Training Institute, Law Enforcement Training Institute, etc. So the number of clients that we have and the kind of the depth and breadth of all of the use cases that we're having to work through in this program is quite significant, needless to say. And I don't know that there were a lot of extensions out there that have directors embedded in all of those. I'm relatively new to the extension world. I came from corporate in April of last year to lead this program. For the last 20 years, I was working for Sprint Corporation up in Kansas City, leading large technology deployment programs just like this. So I am still learning about all of the programs and great things that this extension and all extensions do nationwide. So I learn new things every day. So at the highest level, the program goals, when I walked in and during my interview, I said, so during my performance review, what is it that you want to make sure that we accomplish? So the first thing is we want a single place for program content. We do have disparate systems based on funding, based on history, where resources were available, etc. We have websites, event tools, etc. That are very disparate, either on college websites and or on our current extension website, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. So we want to consolidate everything onto one common platform, so our customers only have to go to one place to find everything. Of course, we want it to be easy to use. The current construct that we have in place is mostly a storage container for all of the intellectual property that we make available. We're flipping that 180 degrees and want to make sure that all we think about is how is the customer going to use this, what's best for the customer. I should pause here and put in a quick apology. As I go through this, you're going to see a couple of templates used. I had to cut and paste some information together because I was out all week at our summit. You are going to see a little bit different variations on the templates. Again, I was just putting those together to make sure I had all the proper information here. So one thing we do also, coming back to this, is we want to be able to market across departments, not a capability we can do today. One of the largest goals is to really understand also what services do consumers use across all of those units that I showed. So the example that I give is if we have a law enforcement officer who is a volunteer firefighter whose kids are in 4-H and whose spouse is a master gardener. Today, we cannot tie all of that information together. And so as in the new systems, as I'll demonstrate, customers can opt into interest areas, and we'll be able to start cross-promoting across departments, and based on their history, and all the information that they provide to us, we can really customize information to them. We want a single shopping cart. It is very hard to take or take financial transactions and make them successful today. The new systems will make that easy. And then, of course, we want the customer in particular to have a complete history of all of the courses they've taken, all of the publications that they may have downloaded or purchased, any online courses, events they've attended, etc. So the customer's dashboard will include all of that and have all of that history for them, so that in the event that they would lose their laptop, information that they've downloaded, etc., they can come back, they can download it and access it when they get a new laptop or access it through another vehicle. So as part of a program like this, part of bringing somebody from the outside in was for me to have a lot of conversations about the transformative properties of programs like this. People were very focused on the systems at the beginning, but it quickly became evident that we needed to talk about all of the processes associated to the systems, current processes and how they will evolve, broken processes that we can automate, those kind of things. And then, of course, the people, the training that needs to be taken place around all of the new systems, migrations off of old systems, and where work gets done, which was a very difficult conversations, because this was a decentralized organization and we had to talk a little bit about that. So when I joined, I asked what the organization had historically spent on systems and what the current budget was. And the answer that I got was that they did not know. And so one of the first things that I did was start putting together a total cost of ownership view, not only of the systems costs as I was negotiating contracts with the various vendors involved, but also of the labor costs, internal and external. So we now have that view in place, which is good. So we can budget effectively. We can go into each budget year and let Marshall Stewart and Blake Nofton, our Vice Chancellor and Associate Vice Chancellor, know exactly what they're spending on these programs. And each budget year we can have the right discussion. So we have been addressing inefficiencies. Of course, with the new systems come a completely different set of processes. We are purchasing off-the-shelf commercial software and integrating them together. We are not customizing any of this software, and we are having to re-engineer all of our internal processes to use the systems as they should be right off of the shelf. So we have to come up with ingress models in order to have work come into us. We also are reviewing all of the publications to understand if we need to update those, archive them, etc., as part of this program. And then I've had a lot of conversation, and we are going to build centers of excellence for high volume transactions. I'll talk a little bit about that also around the decentralization and centralization discussions, but there are functions that will remain decentralized and there are functions that will be centralized. The goal is, where we do centralize and we have high volume transactions, is we want to offer service level agreements to the internal groups, such as if you get all of the inputs into my team or the conference office team, we will guarantee that your material will be posted and available to the public in X number of hours or days, or your conference will be open in X number of days. So that's the goal, and then we'll measure those service level agreements, of course, and modify them as we scale up. So again, this was a 100% decentralized organization as far as most of the directors, or many of the directors, had part-time planners or event planners. They had, some of them had full-time webmasters. Some had their own advertising teams, kind of promotions teams, etc. So I have worked to swing the pendulum back towards the centralization model, which was a very difficult conversation. but we've gotten through that and successfully centralized the event management aspect of the program. And we've also centralized all of the web development and the care and maintenance of the websites, the content that goes into those, et cetera. So it's a model that, again, allows us to offer service level agreements to these organizations once we go live. For the e-marketing aspect and for e-learning, those have remained decentralized. We are building capabilities across the faculty in order to be able to use Canvas and build courses, online courses in the Canvas format, which the university went to this year. They moved away from Blackboard and migrated towards Canvas this year. The e-marketing tool that we're using, which I'll talk about on the subsequent slide, that is decentralized also. There's a centralized administrator of that platform. They will import all of the distribution lists that organizations have, set up templates, teach them how to use these templates to automate advertising campaigns or promotional campaigns that would drive traffic back to program websites, events, et cetera. So a combination of decentralization and centralization, but again, where the high volume transactions are around the maintenance, building and maintenance of website and content on that, and event management has been centralized under one command chain. So before I show them to you and demonstrate them, I just wanted to share a little bit of information about the 4 platforms. First of all, I should tell you that we have an integrator partner that we're working with. They are AmericanEagle.com. They are a privately owned company, a family-owned company based in Chicago. They have done a lot of work deploying these platforms that I'm going to share with you, not only in the public sector, but in the private sector, along with government. So they have been working with us. They won the RFP that was run even before I joined. And then when I joined, I conducted due diligence on them and agreed that they could continue with us on subsequent phases. So they have worked with us to integrate all of these platforms together, and they are also working with us, or they did work with us to integrate all of it down into PeopleSoft so that the financials, when there is a cost for a product, everything flows down to PeopleSoft, post to the general ledger, and then money moves to the appropriate program post any credit card fees or transaction fees that take place. So we're using Magento is the e-commerce platform, one of the largest e-commerce platforms in the world. Originally started as part of eBay, was spun out of eBay. So we are building our new web pages on that. It is the unified shopping cart that we're going to have. It has a content management system. We have had to, the content management system that came with the platform was really built for widgets, the sales of widgets like on an eBay. We went to the Magento store and found an alternative that was capable of being customized around educational content. So the only customization that we've done is around the content management system, which is inside of Magento, just again to be able to handle all of the various products that we offer. It has a warehouse module. I'm going to talk about the warehouse that I manage also, but it will track all of the inventory, automate all of the shipping, costing around that. We have use it to organize our information architecture, and we categorize content and people to one to many interest areas, such that in Magento, then based on the customer search criteria, or again, their interest areas that they've opted into, dynamically, the system just builds pages for the customer, which brings the most pertinent information available up to them. That is the platform where a customer can go in and manage their profile. Also, I talked to that a little bit ago. The e-marketing tool is called .mailer, and they are a preferred partner of Magento's already, so they have integrated the software with Magento. All we had to do was license it and turn it on. It is an incredibly robust e-marketing tool. It allows you to do direct marketing, but segmentation, et cetera, a lot of automation driven right by the customer's profile or their web usage. if we, once the email is captured and is part of not only Magento, but part of the e-marketing tool, based on a customer's preferences, if an ad campaign is started and they have opted into an area, they're automatically added to those campaigns. It also has the capabilities such as split campaign scheduling, where you can schedule 5% of a campaign to go to a distribution list under one format and one subject line, have the second one under a completely different look or subject line, send 5% out. It'll monitor the open rates and the click-through rates and success. And then based on that, it'll send the other 90% out through the campaign, which is most successful. And that is all automated. Of course, it allows for any analytics that we're looking for around those click-through rates all the way down to the zip code level. And it has a mapping function. So Marshall Stewart is very much looking forward to one day having a mapping function of the state of Missouri and where Missourians are engaging with us and where they're not. And where they're not, the first thing we'll determine is, do those customers live in an internet desert? Because like many of us, I'm sure we have areas of the state where broadband is not widely deployed. But if for some reason broadband is available and programs and ad campaigns are not resonating with customers, we'll know that immediately and try something different. And at least have the data that we need to make some very intelligent decisions. We have already started using .mailer. We started using it in July to drive traffic to the current website and current programs. We have an instance of Canvas, which is used for adult continuing education. Again, there is an instance of Canvas on the main campus or all 4 campuses in the university system. And that is for the 4-credit side of the world. We have no interoperability with that. Our platform is used just for those continuing education units like nursing, law enforcement, firefighting, that require either continuing education units as part of their professional career, or any online courses where we have a dual faculty member. They have a dual assignment both in a college and with extension. They can take courses, export them out of the campus version of Canvas, and refactor that for an adult learner and make it available online. So we are going to manage, as part of that, any award certificates or continuing education unit certificates. If the customer needs to self-serve and just print those off, today somebody manually, customer has to call us and manually go ahead and have somebody take care of that. Inside of extension, the customer will be able to self-serve that moving forward. And then the event management tool is Cvent. Many of you are probably very aware of Cvent, one of the largest products in that space in the world. So we're going to use that for all meetings, everything from the simple one-click enrollment all the way to multi-day, multi-track engagement activities like the summit we just came off of. So for those of you who aren't aware of it, it can promote events directly. So our conference office does contract with outside entities, private companies that use their services. So in that case where they would not be a citizen coming in through our website and finding an event that way, it does direct promotional activities, all the automation and scheduling. Of course, it will monitor click-through rates, close rates once the customer registers. It automates the next campaign and the next campaign all the way up to the reminders before an individual arrives at the event. It also has a mobile application that's fully integrated. So for those very large conferences where you don't want people manning booths to give directions, or you don't want people having to print off directions and all that kind of stuff, it can be available on a tablet or a handset, and we successfully used that at our summit last week. So it's really a nice tool. Lets people engage, lets people actually schedule sessions to get together, private sessions. There's a lot of push notification capability in it so that you can, if things do change, rooms change, etc., users get those push notifications, etc. So we are finalizing, we have finalized Cvent, and the first event should go live actually either today or tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Monday, in Cvent as a standalone unit. And when the fully integrated experience is deployed, then I'll talk to you about the timeline for that. What Magento will be the front door to the University of Missouri Extension. So the extension.missouri.edu website, when a customer comes in there, and as they're conducting searches or they're navigating, it'll be offering up articles, webinars, how-to videos, publications, etc. That content resides in the Magento content management system. And then it is always looking into Canvas or Cvent to see what would be relevant and could be offered also based on what the customer is looking at. So Magento is the front door. Again, it's the place where a customer opts in and lets us know about their preferences such that the most relevant information can be made available. And at this point, I would like to shift to a demo. So everybody, this is today's University of Missouri Extension site. As you can see, frankly, the burden is on the customer to do a lot of reading and parse information themselves. There's only one place where, based on our current tool, we're even able to offer up any kind of a graphic here in the middle. But otherwise, as you scroll down, it's all text-based, fairly common, for kind of, I'll say, last decade's technology. And here's the look and feel of the new website that we're going to launch a little bit later. So I'm going to be looking at a screen to my right here. I've got a demo that I want to walk through, and I just want to make sure that I cover all of the topics. So if you would just bear with me while I kind of go through this. So first thing that you'll notice, of course, is we've got a hero image here. The way that this is constructed is there were actually 10 images in place, and then every time a customer comes to the site, it randomly serves up an image. So the customer's not, my team does not have to regularly change this. It will change, and we will just on a monthly basis swap out probably a number of those photos, if not the entire 10. And of course, it has a call to action right here in the middle to conduct a search, knowing that about 50% of all people immediately want to conduct a search, find what they want, and leave. We've made that very prominent here. Going all the way to the top navigation, we have an area where we can locate people, locations. People do know what they're looking for a merchant experience immediately. They want to order something, they can go to the store. If they've built a profile, they can log in. If they have not, they can start their experience here, and there's a shopping cart here. So from a navigation perspective, of course, we have bars across here, or if the customer wants to navigate directly to a subset of information, they can do so. But here we start the customer journey by saying, what are you interested in? And when Marshall Stewart joined a little over a year ago, one of the first things he did was had a series of listening sessions with the citizens of Missouri. And our information architecture used to be, I'll say, extremely complex. And the menu that you saw across the top on the current web page was much more, I'll say, busy. So based on how the citizens of Missouri see us and the feedback that they provided us, we have simplified our information architecture public facing dramatically. On the backside, we still have things that we can tag at an extremely deep level. But as far as presentation to the citizens of Missouri and beyond, we wanted a much simpler construct. So there are only really 4 areas that we are organized into right now: agriculture and environment, business and community, health and safety, and youth and family. And everything falls under one of those headers. And we have a leader for each of those units now. There's been a reorganization to where all of that falls under one leader. So as we click on that, what we have the opportunity to do with the flyout here then is the next level of navigation becomes available. Okay, within that, are we want to focusing, is the customer wanting to focus on animal health and production, plant health, etc. The third panel over here, you'll see we can start highlighting specific programs. And then of course on the last one, we have a visual to where depending upon time of season, etc. We can advertise something that's most effective out there to try to personalize that experience. So each of these has their own flyout, different programs named, different visuals to try to draw people in with a call to action button. So as we continue down the page, the home page, we very much want people to share their information with us and opt into areas of interest. People can always opt out, of course. Privacy is a major concern in today's day and age. And I got questions about this at the summit. And so, you know, clearly the systems provide the required security. They're in data centers that do the same, associated to payment card industry standards when you're taking payments online. But it is always an opt-in. And I reassured everybody, I'm sure like everybody on this call, that whatever information a customer is willing to share with us is used to personalize their experience and only their experience. It's to gather all of their information and their purchases or everything that they have accessed into one place under their profile. They can always opt out. And when it comes to metrics, which I'll talk about a little bit later, the only thing that we're looking for is larger trends. We're not looking at individuals and what they're doing. We're looking at what are people coming in and searching for. Do we have programs that meet those needs? If we don't, can we have a discussion as to whether we would want to do maybe ramp something up, or would we visit with a sister university to say, we think you have a good program and we'd like to partner with you to bring that onto our platform and offer it up, etc. So this is where you build that experience, and I'm actually going to go into that and show you that a little bit further in the demo. So coming down here, we have basically a featured content module, and this is driven by artificial intelligence. So there is a tool called Hawk Search, like the bird, and Hawk Search is an artificial intelligence engine. It is basically the heartbeat of the entire system. It watches and learns as people use the system, and it pulls forward based on search criteria the most popular information available. What are people looking at the most frequently? And it pulls it forward. So whether it be events, news and articles, publications people are looking at, courses, etc., based on, again, search criteria that all customers have been making, they pull that forward and prioritize that. For those people who are more visual and don't like going up and opening up menus, we have a visual way to get into those 4 areas and start their navigation experience. And then we have, for those professions where there are continuing education requirements, or like the Missouri Training Institute, where they contract privately with companies to come in and do customized training, we have tiles where the customer can immediately head to their landing page. And then down at the bottom of the page, we have a giving option. And for the first time in our history, we have a link to missouri.edu. Surprisingly, one of the first things I noticed when I came to the organization was that we did not have a prominent link back to the university that we're a part of. So that will be part of our webpage moving forward, or our homepage. And then, of course, standard navigation here. So what I would like to do is come back here and show you how we build a profile. So you can see that if you have already created one, it remembers you and you can sign in. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. So we'll say my name. And we'll create the account. So what this does is takes you into the customer dashboard. Of course, it thanks you immediately for registering. And through here, you can manage your contact information, your email preferences, and those email preferences, when clicked on, will take the customer to a .mailer preference center where they can opt into the various newsletters that are made available through the organizations, and again, or mail preferences around ad campaigns. Here, they can customize their web experience. So we know that from an email perspective, people typically don't want as much information or as personalized information as they do on their web experience. So we offer customization both ways. And then you'll see over here that they can see all of their past orders, refining their interest areas. If we are out of stock of something, they can ask for a reminder so that as soon as it comes into stock, they can go ahead and get a reminder of that and make a purchase. They can store credit card information. For county offices who will have a profile, they can just come in and order by SKU, knowing that in many instances they buy the same things over and over. And then, of course, the customer can track any course that they've taken, online course they've taken, any event that they've registered for, or a publication that's downloadable or purchasable. Okay. So right now what I would like to do is go ahead and refine my web experience. So we get a tile here where you can open these up. Let that load. So here's where you can start personalizing. I'm going to go into health and safety, and I'm going to say I'm a law enforcement officer, and I'm going to hit save. So once I've done that, I'm going to go to a programs page, click on programs. And what you'll see is immediately in my search results, law enforcement is moved to the top. Okay. And when I click into that, it takes me to a landing page specific to that program. So again, we'll have a hero image at the top. And unlike on the home page where we have 10 pages or pictures loaded, we will have up to 3 sliders always with a call to action in the middle. You'll see left-hand navigation over here, these rails. This will be consistent across any program. Information about the program. And then just like we saw on the home page, based on the materials that this organization makes available, events, publications, courses, etc. will enable. If they have no online courses, this button just simply does not enable it. This is all driven again by Hawk Search, and it's all automated. Over here, we have an opportunity to purchase something. So we have a peek over here around something. This is the Law Enforcement Training Institute is the only institute that is capable of selling the Missouri Criminal Code Handbook in the state of Missouri. And then next, we have people tied to the programs. So every individual who is tagged to this program, they are presented. Of course, if a customer wants to go in and view detail around their profile, they can do so. Navigate across different individuals. And then this particular unit actually sells merchandise. So in the event that they don't sell merchandise, this would be the space where we would cross-sell or cross-promote, cross-promote's a better word, relevant information from other programs. And again, it's all driven by Hawk Search. It recognizes based on the customer search where they're going. It's much like, you know, people who liked this also looked at this kind of recommendations that can be made down here, and it's all automated. So I'm thinking maybe I'll want to buy a pair of sweatpants today. Takes me to the next step. You'll notice that we have the PayPal button. So I have worked as part of this program to get an enterprise agreement in place with PayPal, and we are going to be the first platform in the University of Missouri system to go live with PayPal when we launch these systems. And of course, you can pay by any major credit card that the university accepts also. So I'm going to go ahead and add to cart one item. And you can see that you've successfully added it. You can see up here that in my cart, I've added it. If I want to go into checkout, I can certainly do that or pay directly with PayPal, but in this instance, I will not. Okay. So next, let's say I want to go look at an event. Leave that in my shopping cart for now. So on the left-hand navigation, again, what you're going to see is faceted search. So the customer can search for events within so many miles of their zip code. They can search for something specific, or there's faceted search here based on programs, etc., dates, the individual who leads these particular events, etc., all of that, so the customer can quickly narrow down what they're looking for. In this particular instance, I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a law enforcement training opportunity called Alice. It comes up. I click on it. And you have a description of this particular event. So the Law Enforcement Training Institute, along with a lot of the other groups, they have a course catalog of events that can be scheduled. They're not open for registration regularly. A police force has to call them and say, in this state, we'd like to offer this course. Can we work on dates with you? So what we'll do is, in those kind of schedulable events, the customer will click here and contact information will come up to try to drive traffic to the right individual who could then talk them through the requirements of the course, offering times, etc. At the same time, any related course that this individual also teaches is shown here, so that we know what all of the expertise that Travis Witt brings to bear here. So if there were any other opportunities that the police department wanted to talk with that particular instructor, they could do that. I've driven traffic to there, but now I need to go and I need to buy a publication. Well, actually, let me do that another way. So I go back to the program. Before I check out, I need to add a manual. I'll add that to my cart. I get a confirmation message here. And again, in my shopping cart, now you see I have 2 items. So next I want to go look at some online courses. And this will be the last one that I go through just in the interest of time. But I'm going to look for Healthy Yards. And we find it. So this is an online course. You can see there's a charge for it. It does offer continuing education units. Shows that it's online. And when I go into it to register for it, Magento is the single sign-on to each of these. So if I sign up for a course, if I sign up for an event, Magento will automatically register the customer into the Canvas platform or access Cvent for the customer to finish the registration. Here there's a description of the course. The syllabus is available. Of course, the instructors are shown. This particular one, registration is closed, but if I were to go ahead and it was open and I clicked on registration, of course, I could go ahead and add that to my cart and make one single payment at the end for everything. Okay, so with that, I'm going to go back and share a little bit more information about other things. So that's just an overview of the systems that we're going to deploy. And of course, the last thing I'll say about the shopping cart is that we are able to monitor abandoned shopping carts, automate campaigns back to people to try to say, remind them that they left an abandoned shopping cart. And after time, even if we want to incent them and offer a discount to try to have a sale or get them to register for something, Mailer can automate all of that discounting also for it. And we can track the discounts that we give, who uses it, what percent of discounts were used, et cetera. There are a couple other initiatives that I'm leading. So again, I mentioned that I manage I manage a warehouse for print and logo items. So there's a couple of initiatives, one around on-demand services in that space, along with editing, curriculum development, and graphic artistry work. So right now, around this particular aspect, we manage 2,500 publications approximately, and we carry, give or take, 35 assorted logo items that faculty, staff, county offices can purchase, or citizens of Missouri can purchase. And unfortunately, the only way that we get low pricing from our current supplier network is to purchase approximately 5 years worth of stock. I took over this operation only a few months ago, and we really want to move to an on-demand. And the reason for that is we need to take the money that we invest and have tied up in a warehouse facility, and we want to repurpose that and invest in programs and faculty. It's just, I'm going to share a couple of examples here that'll give you a feel for the scope of what our problem is here. I have picked one publication, one pamphlet, and one magazine. And as I went out and conducted my first review of this facility, it was a bit shocking to me about the volume of materials that were out there. So this is the blue bar indicates the current inventory, and the orange bar indicates the fiscal year 2017 orders for that material that we saw. And based on the current pricing that we charge for those three pieces, I need to sell 6,800 more units just to break even. And if we double the sales rate that we had last year, it will take us until year 2,443 to sell all of that. And I don't know about you, but I probably won't be here when that last piece goes out. So this is where the audience laughs a bit, and this is where it makes me cry. If we talk about the dollars involved, this is the red bar shows the dollars that we have invested in this material, and the green bar shows the revenue that we generated. So when you think about that stranded capital sitting on a shelf, we lost $19,400 last year just on these three articles. And that is an average of about $33 a piece. And we do not allocate currently any costs around warehouse facilities, storage, or labor costs back to those publications. So the number is actually more dramatic, but historically this is the way we've done business. It is certainly not a criticism of past business practices. Many of you probably are in a similar situation, but we need a better way forward, needless to say. So what I'm doing now is I'm about to issue a request for information from a number of suppliers. I've been talking to a number of them, and some of the advantages that they bring is they can come in and actually consult with us while curriculum or publications are being finalized and say, based on this size, these proportions, these kind of materials used, here's one price point. If we changed it this way, there's another price point that can be looked at. Historically, we have liked full color, glossy covered, very expensive publication types and formats. And so the good news is they can consult on some options for us. They will guarantee delivery timeframes from an on-demand perspective. When a customer wants to order something, they will not charge us to warehouse items if we do store inventory because we have large volume items. If the turn is less than 1 year and all of the product goes out the door, they will not charge us for that. if it does sit there more than a year, there will be a warehouse cost that the program would have to write a check for. I can only afford to carry a very few number of logo items. In an on-demand world, we can offer a much wider list of logo items available online for the offices to order, our employees or citizens to order. One of the firms, at least, offers contract pricing to where if there's emergency printing at the last minute, they have stores statewide, and our faculty or program leaders could just go in there and get the same thing last minute, night before, as the contract pricing if we were to order it on demand 6 weeks in advance. Some of them offer rebate programs, and some of them offer free shipping for orders over $50. So as you can see, some of the advantages when you go to organizations that do nothing but on demand and have scale are quite significant. The other on-demand service that we're looking at is editing, curriculum development, and graphic design. Some of the team that got reorganized under me to manage the web platforms and maintain them were editors, they were news writers. They're learning to manage content blocks and what you saw in the demo. So I have identified an initial list of professional firms that provide these type of services. I am working with supply chain to get contracts in place. We'll train an approved list of suppliers in the university standards and branding, and then the program leaders will just contract directly with those individuals to get those services, and those companies will understand the entrance criteria necessary for us then to take that material, that publication, and put it into Magento, make it available via web display, downloadable for free, for sale, etc. From a timeline perspective, we are scheduled to soft launch December 12th. All 4 systems with integrated platform will go live. That's the new homepage, along with a set of early adopters that have volunteered to be the first groups. So we have a smattering of programs out of the College of Agriculture. We have a couple of the for-profit organizations like Law Enforcement Training Institute, the nursing and nursing outreach organizations, etc. We're going to launch them. We're going to live in 2 worlds for a while, probably for 18 months approximately, where a lot of content will reside on the current systems. Some content will reside on the new. As a customer clicks on something and navigates to something that has not migrated onto the new platform, a second window will open up so that they see the information they're looking for. There will be no navigation capability in the current website once we go live. They literally can only look at the content in that new window that is opened up. And then when they close it, they're still in the Nexus platform where they launched off to, so that we do not lose the customer. And we can continue to track all of the click-through rates and understand what information they're going to. As soon as we launch, we're going to go into a quiet period where we are going to study the metrics. There's a tremendous amount of data that's going to be, you're talking big data here that's coming out of all 4 of these systems. So we're going to study it. We're going to test our processes. We certainly have a lot of processes and methods and procedures we've drawn up, but we know that we're going to have to tweak them. We're going to run all the reporting at the end of the month and make sure that PeopleSoft say, the financials have all landed where they're supposed to. They match all of the systems. We're going to validate our assumptions, and we're going to fail fast. We know we're not going to be perfect at launch when things don't work. We're just going to tweak them immediately and work with the program leads to say we need to make some adjustments here. Where things work, we're going to roll it out across the whole platform and reproduce that success. So we'll go through that kind of repetitive cycle for about a 30-day period, make sure that's all stable. And then we're just going to start migration after migration of content and programs off the current website onto the new. A couple of other milestones I quickly want to point out here is we are putting a data warehouse in place to where all of the information on all of these systems can be pushed down to a data warehouse where we can use IBM's Cognos tool to mine the data and combine it with information from other systems. We want to get the organization to a point where people put in data one place and only one place. There's a source system for all data. We bring it together in a data warehouse, And then depending upon who needs what information, whether that's an extension or on the larger university, it's made available through that data warehouse. I'm hopeful that on-demand services for print and logo items is online before the end of the fiscal year. That would be the goal, so that we enter fiscal year 19 on July 1st with a on-demand capability there. And for those of you who know the broader Impacts organization, Dr. Susan Reno's organization, she is going to come, has contracted with us or is working on a grant to enable the ability to use Nexus for a national broader Impacts presence on this platform. So again, it'll take about 18 months in order for us to migrate everybody and consolidate everybody onto these platforms, we believe. And with what soft launch involves, very quickly, all the systems are operational. When you go to extension.missouri.edu, you'll see that page that I showed you. The early adopters are on. PeopleSoft's all operating correctly, and all sales and all inventory is managed through Magento.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kyle, for sharing with us today. You're doing some very exciting things in Missouri. And thank you to all of our participants for joining us as well.